What it do, man? Brother just in here trying to make the donuts. Hope everything good with you. Cause it damn sure is good with me. You understand what I mean? I make sure everything's good with me.
I'm not afraid.
What is it? I'm dead. You bet your
We now continue the last 5 steps to a great work-life balance. Feel free to watch Monday's show if you missed the first 5. Now, let's get back to our friendly neighborhood Inky Man.
Practice self-care. That's number 6. Prioritize self-care and well-being to recharge and rejuvenate both mentally and physically. Self-care. Eating right. Being active. Now, at first I was going to say going to the gym, but you do not have to go to the gym to be active. You could take a walk. You can go to the playground. You can run. You can jog. You can fast walk. Pick up basketball games, football games, flag football if you're as old as me, touch football if you're as old as me. You have to establish some sort of self-care because these things, now also, I'm bad with my nails, but getting a haircut, getting your face, you may not believe it, but people, number one, when you're healthy, you can move and shake and do the things that you need to do because you're healthy enough to do it. You're healthy enough to make things happen. It doesn't have to be where you're all dieseled up and chest all out and all that stuff. You do not have to do that to survive, but you do want your body to be able to, when the shit hits the fan, you could do what you gotta do. You understand what I mean? You can't do that if you're not eating correctly to be able to be functioning. And you're not going to function better if you're not taking walks and not doing something active. These are when I get to think when I'm doing something other than being here or other than doing DoorDash. It makes me, self-care. Self-care. Take care of yourself. Number 7, set realistic expectations. I'm going to stop there because this one's a little bit deeper. Remember, SMART. Whenever you see anything that has to do with goal seeking, if you do the research, there's SMART. Now, what is that?
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the most electrifying, the most entertaining, and the downright most incredible channel on YouTube, the Inky Mann channel, where motivation meets gluttony, where Vegas meets victory, and where your love for the Patriots meets its match. Don't miss out on the fun, the food, and the fanaticism because life is too short not to laugh along with Inky Mann. Subscribe now to the Inky Mann Show channel.
Y'all better give us some of this pimping.
All right. What? All right, let's carry on. Okay, let's get to it. Let's get down to business. SMART. SMART. Let's go. So S is for specific. In order for a goal to be effective, it needs to be specific. A specific goal answers questions like what needs to be accomplished, who's responsible for it, what steps need to be taken to achieve it. So pinpointing exactly what you do. And see, this is a hard thing for most people because their mind is all over the place and they're thinking of things way ahead of the game. They might be looking at the end game and trying to reverse engineer it. But if you don't know how to get to the end game, you can't reverse engineer it. So you have to be specific when you're trying to set your goals. Measurable. Specificity is a solid start, but quantifying your goals, that is, making sure they're measurable, makes it easier to track progress and know when you've reached the finish line. So in other words, it takes a few steps to get to a certain thing. If you're trying to get from A to B, and you can think of all the things that need to be done for that to happen, each thing is a step, right? So if you go ahead and you take bite-sized chunks out of it, I forgot what the saying is about eating an elephant.
It was me. I said, there is only one way to eat an elephant, a bite at a time. What I meant by this is that everything in life that seems daunting, overwhelming, and even impossible can be accomplished gradually by taking on just a little at a time.
Achievable. This is the point in the progress where you give yourself a serious reality check. Goals should be realistic, not pedestals from which you inevitably tumble. Ask yourself, is your objective something your team can reasonably accomplish? You could put yourself in there if you're not using a team. In other words, to say you're going to win or get $1 million the next day, unless you won the lottery, and even in that case, you win, you're not going to get the money the next day. You have to be realistic. You know, it's not hard to go from working to not working if you put the steps in place and really seriously think about what it is, not goals, not theories. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to do this, and I think I'm going to do this, and I think I'm... If you find yourself saying that, then you are not being specific. You're not being realistic. All right? If you're trying to get from here and walk across the street, and you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to be on this side of the street, and then tomorrow I'm going to be on this side of the street, well, how are you going to get across the street? You know what I mean? What sneakers are you going to wear? Are you going to use legs? Are you going to use a skateboard? Are you going to slide across on a slip and slide? You know, you have to. That's an extreme example, but it's an example that's proving my point. You've got to be able to have achievable steps. And being realistic with yourself will allow you to know things like, okay, same example. I'm going from A to B. I'm going from this point and crossing the street. Okay. But is today a good day to do that? Like, don't you have other things to do? Do you have other things to do? Is the street going to be open? Is the street not going to have a parade going on the entire time? When you are being realistic with yourself and you're doing the full research, the deep dive, as they say, then you'll see that you can make it realistic because you're actually using realistic stuff and not saying, I think it's going to be, well, I know it's going to be, or are you sure you know? All right.
Welcome to the Inky Mann podcast, a place where inspiration meets the seductive worlds of gastronomic exploration and flashing Las Vegas lights. Your host, Inky Mann, will take you on a tour around the vibrant streets of Vegas while providing you with a delightful fusion of culinary delights, motivation, and insight. Whether you're craving insider information on the greatest eateries in the area or you're searching for inspiration to help you reach your goals, the Inky Mann podcast is your go-to source for everything positive, Las Vegas approved and foodie approved. So grab a seat, hit play, and let's explore Inky Mann's dynamic fusion of culinary adventures and inspiration.
Relevant. Here's where you need to think about the big picture. Why are you setting the goal that you're setting? This would be considered your why, so to speak. For example, people that want to get wealthy, people that want to be rich, why? Why are you doing it? Do you have an ailing parent? Do you have a child that you want them to achieve something and you want to be behind it? You want them to finish school? Do you want to finish school? Do you want to buy a house? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Now, why is that relevant? Because in those times that you're taking the steps that you've planned out, you may say to yourself today, oh, I don't feel like doing blah, blah, blah. I do not feel like going to work today. Okay, well, then you realize that you're not going to have the money that you need to get a business that's going to get you from having to do that. You do realize that if you don't do this and you're trying to get your kids in college, you're going to fall short. So when you focus on your why and you make it relevant to you, then it gives you the inspiration, motivation, and any other Asian for you to make sure you do what you said you were going to do in these reasonable plans. Let's go to T. Time bound. To properly measure success, you and your team need to be on the same page about when a goal has been reached. What's your time horizon? When will the team start creating and implementing the tasks that they've identified? When will they finish? Now, again, this could be something that you are solely doing, even though they're saying team, or you might have to consider your significant other. If you're trying to do something, you're trying to make something happen, this other person who's in your life has got to be on board, whether they're helping you do it or getting out of the way. But if you're not there, and a lot of you know who are watching what I'm talking about, if your person is not helping you and they're in the way, you're not going to achieve it. If you're the type of person who is making a move and then when all of a sudden, let me do better than that. Let me use an analogy that I've used on people when telling them what this is about. If you're making your way up the steps, right? And you're on the third step out of 5 steps, and your significant other is in the basement, they're going to constantly ask you to come down to the basement. Hey, honey, can you do this? Baby, can you do this? Hey, can you do this? If you don't say no, if you don't say, listen, I'm going to be doing such and such, so I cannot talk to you until this is done. If you do not say those things, then you can't be mad when they're constantly interrupting. They don't know what's going on. You're not communicating that to them. Now, at the same time, if you are communicating that with them and they're still doing that, you might need to change partners. Get someone else on your team. Because, living life when you have another person is a team sport. You can think you're the boss all day, but even a boss needs an employee. Okay? Even a boss has a supervisor. Even a supervisor has an owner of a company. You still got to answer to someone until you're at the top of the chain. And even at the top of the chain, in order for you to make money at the top of the chain, you need these people that's below the chain. You dig what I'm saying? So if you're going to have a team, if you're going to be married, if you're going to have a fiance, girlfriend, boyfriend, other kids living in the house and you're grown and you thought you were going to be an empty nester, whatever. Anybody who's in your life, when you're doing the things you need to do, you have to communicate with them. I need you to understand this is what I'm doing. Please let me do this. And I'll leave it at that. Now, with that being said, let's go into the other steps, because that was actually step 7, and there's still more steps to cover. Okay, so step 8, communication and support. Foster open communication with employer, colleagues, and family members about your work-life balance, needs, and challenges. Now, this is what I was just talking about with 7 and the whole SMART thing, so I don't have to go into that. 9, unplug and recharge. Make time to disconnect from technology and work-related stressors regularly. I hear people say, or I've seen in my research, where they tell you to turn off all your electronic devices before you go to bed, maybe at least an hour to go to bed, to give yourself some time to unwind. I've done things, and sometimes it's hurt to show, but I've done things like just get away from social media altogether and just chill, just live life. Read, sleep, only do DoorDash and come on home and just call it a night. Sometimes you just have to do that, because right now, the way social media is and the way that we're addicted to these devices, if you do not do that, these devices are dictating how you live. At least 90% of you wake up in the morning and grab your phone. You're checking emails, you're looking at videos, you have that phone as the alarm, somebody's calling you on that phone. Sometimes you have to unplug from that and understand that you're a real person. You are a living being. What we are turning into, and I've heard this before, the future is about making us androids. And if that sounds far-fetched to you, really think about it. We're at a point now where everything that's electronic is controlling how we do. AI is controlling things that we're doing. Some people are about to lose their jobs because AI is able to do it. I was in a restaurant the other day, a Japanese restaurant the other day. And even though I've seen this on TikTok or something like that, I've seen this live. I was at a restaurant picking up some food from this Japanese steakhouse, and the server was a robot. It was a tray on this big robot that came and gave the guy who was going to give me the food, gave them the food. Then the human gave me the food. And the robot came from the kitchen. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. You can keep on thinking that the Jetsons was a cartoon if you want to. That stuff is here. The thing is, a lot of that stuff that is here on the planet may not be in your area yet, but it's out there. People are making themselves robots and putting chips in their brains. And in some countries, people already have the chip in their bodies and things like that. You just don't understand. If you do not do the reading and you continue to find yourself caught up in all the bull that's going on a day-to-day basis and not paying attention to the real, you're going to turn around and you're going to be a robot. All right. Step number 10. Reflect and adjust. Regularly reflect on your work-life balance and make adjustments as needed. Assess what's working well and what needs improvement. Be willing to make changes to your routines, habits, or priorities to maintain balance and alignment with your values and goals. 10 pretty much sums up everything that has been said, to be honest with you. But I know for myself, I do a regular self-assessment. And because I'm able to be flexible and adapt, when I see something is not right, as opposed to saying, well, this is just what I do, I make the changes. And let me tell you something. Change is good. Change is good. When you break that routine up, routine is the best way to die. If you do not remain uncomfortable and you do not remain flexible, then you will do the same thing over and over again. And then when you start to realize you're doing it over and over again, it's 5, 6, 10 years later. See, a person like me, people look at me and talk to me and say things to me like, yo, you always doing something. You're always, in a way, that's their backhanded compliment. I don't need that. But the reality is, yeah, I'm always doing something. Why? Because it keeps me young. It keeps me thinking. It keeps me agile. It keeps me moving. And everybody has the ability to do that. But when you're in your mind thinking that, okay, well, I'm at a certain age, so I'm just not going to do such and such. All right. See you on the other side in a few decades. With that being said, I think I took up enough of your time. I hope this show, you learned something from the show. I will continue to do things like this on Monday, Motivation Monday. Big shout out to my man Caesar Cypher, who I had a conversation with, and he's going to be on the show. Y'all just stay tuned. Y'all stay tuned. All right? With that being said, happy hump day.
Hump day.
You suckers. Later.
I'm out, yo. I'm out, yo.
Make sure you tune in next Friday for some more Inky Man Show. You suckers.
I'm out, yo.
Why you disloyal fool-ass bitch-made punks? I'm putting cases on all y'all. Sneaker program. You'll be making sneakers in Pelican Bay. That's what you get. If you don't tune into the Inky Man Show, you suckers.